Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world-changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, to create massive awakened impact for millions of souls around the planet, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman. Hello, everybody. So glad to be here with you today. I've got an amazing guest, Dr. Sue. I want to tell you all about her before we get started. She is an international speaker, master of bioenergetic medicine, and national best-selling author. Dr. Sue redirects the flow of energy patterns in the body to activate full human potential. With more than 30 years of experience as a doctor and facilitator of groups and individuals interested in natural healing and a better life, Dr. Sue shares her developments and unique perspective drawn from a life-changing awakening during ancient meditation practices. I got to hear about that. Through her seminars, retreats, presentations, and best-selling book, Dr. Sue illuminates the relationship of quantum science and energy medicine, as well as the elevation of human consciousness and life mastery. Her globally taught energy codes coursework teaches individuals how to clear subconscious memory blocks and how to master energetics of their lives. She is a co-creator of Bioenergetic synchronistic technique, or BEST, something many of you probably heard of, and founder of Morter Institute of Bioenergetics, an organization committed to teaching individuals self-healing techniques and a new approach to life based on quantum science. Dr. Sue is also a co-leader of Your Year of Miracles program, host of Healing Matrix on Gaia TV, and author of the national best-selling book that just came out this year, in 2019 anyway, The Energy Codes, the 7-step system to awaken your spirit, heal your body, and live your best life. An amazing new work that she's brought out into book form now. So, all right, so Dr. Sue, so glad to have you.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here, Daniel. It's a great joy to engage in conversations that are life-changing for people, and I so look forward to seeing where we get to go today.
Awesome. So yeah, we're here talking about these energy codes to help to upgrade the alignment and the healing and all that stuff for all you spiritual rock stars out there that are wanting to really, go to the highest level of frequency embodiment and to come from that place for your own, for your life and for the planet, for the consciousness, and to bring your work forth from that place. So I'm really grateful to have really a master of supporting that in Dr. Sue here today. Someone I have had on other shows and been with many other times, and have always like a home run, every time. So I'm so grateful. So Dr. Sue, tell us about your book that just came out, and these the energy codes. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, certainly. About 20 years ago, I had an experience in a meditation that I was seated in because I was actually just seeking stress release and relief from an overthinking mind and a perfectionistic approach to life that I'd kind of grown into as a means of overcoming really intense shyness and an introverted disposition. And so I became perfectionistic and overperforming in order to compensate for that, which of course leads us to a stressed out way of living. And by the time I hit my 30s, I was pretty intense, high performance focused, etc. So I sought out meditation and instantly started having transcendental experiences, multidimensional experiences. My third eye opened almost immediately. And the next thing I knew, I was in a different reality, one that I was actually not prepared to understand or to integrate, because I hadn't been studying meditation and consciousness per se in that way for years to lead up to such an experience. So I had a big awakening, and it changed my life. I awakened to a state of consciousness where I was a ray of light. I was me, but I wasn't in a physical body. And I was exalted above the earth to the degree that the earth was beneath me, about the size of a marble. And I was embedded into it up to what would have been my knees. but I didn't have knees because I was just a ray of light, but I could feel and sense this awareness. So this huge exalted state, a lifting of my consciousness. I could see 360 degrees around me in every direction, and a light so brilliantly bright, it was 10 times brighter than the brightest day in the desert that I had ever seen. And the most important thing was I knew that that is where I had always been, that that is who I had always been, and that I would always be, that I had always been there. I would always be residing there in this exalted multidimensional place, and that I could have experiences by coming into this dimension, taking a body and having a life experience. So it was mind-blowing, to say the least. What I would love to share with everyone in this moment, so that I don't forget, is that the overwhelming experience there was this. There was nothing missing. There was nothing to accomplish, nothing to become. I was whole and complete. There was nothing broken, nothing missing, nothing wrong. There was nothing to achieve. It was already complete, whole and holy, if you will. And this is what I knew was true for all of us. It's the truth of who we are, but we don't perceive that version of ourselves when we're here because we've not been trained to. We don't have the neurocircuitry in place to do so. Although we have it, it's just not activated and connected. And so we walk around with blinders on, thinking that this is reality and that one day we're going to have a different experience in heaven or somewhere beyond this place that we're existing. And that actually isn't true. What is true is that it is all here right now. We're just unable to perceive it. So to answer your question, Dan, the book is about teaching people how to perceive a greater reality so that as a byproduct of that, we can heal, because healing isn't happening in our bodies because we carry the overriding effect, the idea, the illusion that we're not enough, that it's stressful, that we have to do in order to create or accomplish. And all of that creates an energetic vibrational frequency inside our system that causes cellular breakdown and doesn't allow for healing. And we also have the perception that we are not enough, that there's something wrong, that we have to improve ourselves, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the Energy Codes book is to teach people. I walk them through my experience, and then my experience of the following decade of how I integrated that exalted state into the body, and how I began to allow that to have an effect on my life in the ways that I interact, in my relationships, and my communications, and the intimacy that I'm interested in exploring and expressing in life, et cetera, et cetera. So the book is a how-to to awaken to our highest true self, step by step, in an integrated way, so that we don't have to worry about, am I doing too much too fast? Am I doing practices that are really going to serve? Am I really plugged in to something that's going to allow me to have a different life experience as I desire? So there's a long answer to your question. They won't all be that long, but I wanted to just set a context for where we're headed.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And that was just so amazing. That's exactly, I wanted to hear about that experience you had. And because I've interviewed you, like I said, a few times before. I don't recall ever hearing that story before. Maybe I did, but
Yes,
I don't remember it. So
yes.
I was like, that is so cool to hear that. And it's so interesting you mentioned about the introversion and the shyness. I think there's a lot of people probably listening that can relate to that too. And perfectionism, and where you were before, like especially like with trying to measure up, or, perfectionism and all this stuff. And I was also it's funny, I was tuning into that before we came on. I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of introverted and shy myself. And yeah, Dr. Sue's that way too. Like, I don't even know you that well other than through our interviews, but I'm like, yeah, she's kind of like that. And then you brought that up right away. Like, it is so interesting the way we were able to connect, and
Yes.
those things that are in the energy soup in each moment. And so it's so incredible for someone like yourself to have had this experience of that connection that you describe in the way that you had it. And a lot of us might have an inkling of that, or have heard about it, or, we know that's the truth, but maybe haven't had a full experience of that sort of thing. But it's cool that you have, and then you can say, I was there, I know it's always there. And And then what you're doing with the energy codes, it sounds like, is what I want to ask you about actually is like, so how does the energy codes actually do that? How does the energy codes take us out of, out of that place where we're feeling like we got to measure up, we're not good enough, we're not worthy, I'm too shy, I'm too extroverted, maybe, I don't know, like I'm too whatever.
Yes.
How does it help us to break loose, get out of that, like that shell or whatever, like energy gunk that you show on your charts? How does it help with that? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great question, and obviously completely relevant to why we're here having this conversation and why people are tuning in to hear about this. It's like, how do I take what you're talking about and have that start to happen in my life? How can I start to implement? And here's a great starting place. We tend to live in our heads. We tend to overthink and try to analyze and figure it out. And we try to build a case for ourselves. We try to make sure that we're okay, or that we are enough, or that there is a place for us in the world. And when we get into an argument, we want to defend our image of who we are and make sure that it's enough, etc. All of which keeps us calculating and using our analytical mind. And we use it so much, we begin to think that that's the choice that in fact it's the only choice. We don't even realize there's an alternative choice. And so, of course, a culture that is living that way for an extended period of time is going to eventually begin to feel the pain that is associated with that, because the analytical mind is based in duality. For every day that you have that's a good day, there has to be another day that's a bad day. For everything that makes you happy, there has to be something that makes you sad. If you're externally oriented and living in your analytical mind of relativity, for every moment that there is a good thing, there's a looming potential bad thing over here that could land any moment. And so we're constantly navigating our lives in such a fashion to keep that at bay, which keeps us in a state of fear, which keeps us out of a state of healing, which is why we have some of the worst healthcare conditions, and our stats and statistics are worse in this country of the United States than 40 other. There are 40 countries that you have a better chance of living healthfully than in the United States of America, which is just absolutely crazy, because we spend more money on healthcare than anyone else, all because we're externally oriented and completely out of touch with what's really going on. So the energy codes is to get us back in touch with that, to move from our analytical thinking mind into a deeper state of presence, operating from a place of the observing mind, which is something that has become popular in our culture. Mindfulness and being aware and just observing and developing our ability to just witness something without having to jump in and fix it or have an emotional reaction to it, or just to start to notice our reactions. So the energy codes is teaching people how to implement this idea of mindfulness, but it's taking it much further. We're building the neurocircuitry to climb down into your body and start to benefit from your deep core wisdom, which is actually below your navel, below the belly button, in the deep recesses of your lower abdominal area, is an energy that is what all of the ancient indigenous cultures were teaching us to cultivate. And the Eastern world was totally about cultivating this, whether it's the Dantian or Qi or the energies of innate intelligence that are prana, and these kinds of essences that the deep core wisdom being runs on. And then to run this energy of ourselves down into the solar plexus, which is just above the navel, allows us to fuel it with a power and a sense of self that we can't get when we're living in our heads. And in addition to that, it cultivates the energies of our heart so that we're actually taking action in our lives based upon what has heart and meaning to us. Not what will strategically get us in first place or make us win or to achieve the goal only, but to actually be drawn to pursuing things wisely and from a place of strong self-esteem instead of basing our decisions on fear, and acting from a place of the heart as well, where it has meaning, where we feel a sense of fulfillment even before we achieve the goal. We have a sense of fulfillment because of where we're coming from. And that alone feels so good that it kind of doesn't even matter if I hit that goal or not. I'm having a great time living a life that matters to me, instead of just choosing all these things that are supposed to get me ahead, etc. So the energy codes teach us how to drop into our core and start breathing life force into these deeper levels of energy and energy consciousness in a fashion that allows new information to trickle up all the way to our conscious awareness that now we're able to draw upon before we make our decisions. So it's basically the energy codes are teaching us how to get in our bodies instead of living in our heads, because our bodies are comprised of energies that are wise and that are strong and that are clear and that are loving and kind and compassionate and incredibly talented and creative and strong and vital. And if we drop into our body and activate those energies, we can draw upon all of them at the same time, so that we don't have to have moments where we're strong and moments where we're kind and moments where we're compassionate or forgiving or feel connected to the cosmos and to the universal intelligence. We can have all those things all the time instead of one or the other or another or another. We want to have access to an integrated individual. So the energy codes are about integrating your wholeness. So let's just start with a simple practice. The book is in 3 sections. The first section gives you science in a user-friendly fashion that will allow you to understand that I understand what's going on, both from a quantum science standpoint, from a neurologic standpoint, from a biochemical standpoint, and an integrative fashion. So I tie it all together, but I make it super user-friendly so that people will read it and so that people will get it and understand it. And then the middle of the book is all about how-tos, like how do you do this part that you were talking about? Well, how do we know that we're actually implementing that information? How do we embody it? That's what the middle section of the book is. And then the third section of the book is giving you ideas and daily practices and how to put it all together so that you know that you're making a difference. And then finally, the final chapter is what would the world be like if everybody was doing this? And how do we know that we're making a contribution in the world that makes a difference for us, that we're making a difference on the planet? So I love the information, how it's put together, and I've gotten tremendous feedback from people about physical healing and mental healing and emotional healing and spiritual integration that are happening all over the world. The book's been translated into 13 languages already just by request, and we're in over 40 countries that are distributing it and working with the work, etc. It's just an amazing movement that is happening for embodiment. So here's how we start. Okay, in the base of the belly, low below your navel, if you'll breathe in your belly, it will start to activate your nervous system in a different way than if you breathe in your upper lobes of your lungs. If you breathe in the upper lobes of the lungs, you actually activate fight or flight defense physiology in your body. If you take a breath like this, that's not what we want, and that's what we're used to doing. We're used to take a big breath, get out there and go be strong. And you know what it does is it stimulates your nervous system to think that you're under attack and that you need to go protect yourself. So breathe in the belly. If I breathe in the belly, big belly breath, exhale, big inhale, the belly gets big, exhale, the belly comes back to the spine. Inhale, the belly gets big, exhale, the belly comes back to the spine. Now I'm activating wisdom. I'm activating the part of the nervous system that calms me down, lets me see all around me before I make any decisions or take any action, etc. Breathe in your belly, number 1. Number 2, we're going to anchor the consciousness that's so used to being up here in your head and starting to defend and starting to argue and starting to overstep everyone and make a way for yourself. Slow it down, drop it down into the body. And here's how we do that. Breathe in the belly. Secondly, you're going to contract some muscles in the base of the pelvic bowl. What's that mean? It's as if you were going to the bathroom and you had to stop the stream quickly, you'd have to contract certain muscles to make that happen. Contract those muscles now. It's at the base of the pelvic bowl, the muscles of the perineum. It is squeezing them together and even kind of lifting them up toward your heart if you can. If you can't do that right off the bat, eventually after you practice this, you'll be able to. But right now, just contract those muscles as if you were stopping the stream of going to the bathroom instantly. Just contract them and then release them. And then contract them and then release them. Contract them and keep them contracted. Now squeeze it with everything you've got. Just squeeze it. Just give it a squeeze and then relax it by 1/2. Just relax it by 1/2. Right there is a perfect amount of contraction to be working with these practices that we're going to continue to do. So now let's just relax that completely so that we can focus on something else, okay? Let's now take your shoulder blades and squeeze them together and drop them down. Just squeeze them together and drop them down. Pull them down and squeeze them together. And now relax that. And now contract them again. Squeeze them together and just pull them down a little bit. Now see if you can keep those there and at the same time contract that root lock that we were just talking about, the muscles at the base of the pelvic bowl. It's called root lock, and the Sanskrit term for this is mula bandha. It just means root lock, locking your consciousness, your energy down in your body instead of letting it run up here in your head all the time. So we pull it down into the body. So shoulder blades together and down, squeeze these muscles at the base of the pelvic bowl. Okay, all that at the same time. Now, let's roll your eyes up and then look back at the computer again. And then roll them up and feel the tension behind the eyes. Notice that. And then look back at the computer. Roll them up again. Notice that tension behind the eyes and memorize that place in the center of your brain. And then bring your eyes back to the computer again. Now, we have this area in the center of the brain and this area at the heart space where we're squeezing the blades together, and this place at the root of the spine that is mula bandha, this root lock at the pelvic bowl. So imagine that there is a line inside your body connecting them all together, right in the center of the brain, down through the throat, down through the center of the chest, right into that heart space where the shoulder blades are contracted so that you can feel this area, all the way down into your belly and into the pelvis. This line is where we're actually supposed to be living in our bodies. But what has happened is we live in our heads, we become externally oriented, we get dispersed out here in the outer world, and the energy inside of our body gets weak. And it's not robust enough and strong enough to allow for proper digestion and proper wisdom to be accessed and proper breathing to happen and proper access to your heart space, and a sense of self gets lost in the shuffle. I call it a splat. We land here in this life and we splat. And we kind of, our mind goes one way, our body goes another, our breath goes another way. And we're out here looking to the outer world to see, am I okay? Am I fitting in? Am I measuring up to your expectations of me? And we lose a sense of self. And what the energy codes is teaching you is how to physically orient yourself in the body. And then it teaches you all kinds of principles of how to have a sense of self all the time, so that you're not asking questions based on fear, so that you're not feeling spun out and dispersed and overwhelmed, so that you don't think that the world is forcing things into your life experience that are more than you can handle. And instead, you start to draw upon why you're really here, which is to create the life that you're interested in living versus surviving a life that others are throwing at you all the time, that your boss is throwing at you, or the bills are throwing at you, or your family is throwing at you, responsibilities are dispersing you or pulling you in so many directions. It's a way that you get yourself together and stay there. So just to review, these are very basic introductory practices, but this root lock, squeezing those muscles in the pelvic bowl, shoulder blades together and down, breathing in the belly, and then rolling your eyes and finding that tension as if there's a plumb line dropping right down through the center of your body. So your eyes and your throat and your shoulder blades and this mula bandha are keeping you back against the spine and anchored deep in the body to allow you to now belly breathe. And you'll start to see the world differently when you're anchored in the core of your body. When you do this, just practice it when you're sitting across the table from someone, or when you're having conversation in your living room, or even when you're on the phone with someone. Do these practices and you will recognize instantly that you are starting to come from your true space, rather than you constantly analyzing, what should I do here? What's the smartest thing to do here? What should I say here to make this situation go the way I want it to? You're going to feel a sense of self that you've been seeking all of your life subconsciously, because we're inherently designed to be more anchored and grounded and gathered together than we have been experiencing ourselves. So there's a starting place to see where we want to go from here, Dan, with our conversation.
Oh, great. Great. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, this is this embodiment and this connection and this way of being connected with our true self is the core foundation of what we're talking about here on Spiritual Rockstar Radio. Is coming from this place is what it's all about. This orientation that Dr. Sue is talking about. It's about living from that allness, and everything else is just it's just kind of, woo, okay, cool, this is happening, that's happening. And when we can allow for that, then everything becomes so simplified, rather than, like I say, like a lot of the mind-based stuff that we're getting all the time and out there being taught. Get focused, do this, get your mindset exactly right, and you'll get there eventually. And we have to, if we're at 5 million, then we got to go to 10 million. If you're at 10 million, you got to go to 20 million. Like, from that place, like, because you have to get there, like, rather than this embodiment of just wanting to be connected to life itself, and how amazing that is. So these practices and these tools you're giving us are amazing. Now, I'd love for people to be able to gain more access to that. We're going to talk some more here, but I was wondering if you could tell them a little bit about we have a free gift here that you've provided. I think it's called the embodiment meditation, right? 101, central channel focus. I was wondering if you could briefly tell us about that. We'll put it in our show notes so people can go check that out.
Oh, absolutely. So in at our website, you'll have access to a meditation that is a process of connecting you with all of these energy points along the body that will allow you to literally embody what it is that I'm speaking about today. And it'll give you the experience of it rather than just talking about it, even more so. And so it has some tones and music in the background that move the consciousness in a particular way that automatically allows for an integration to occur. And it walks you down through the different aspects of your own consciousness that are housed in your body at different levels, at different layers of energy frequencies that are residing in these energy centers and these layers of energy that we are made of. Everything is energy, and including you. And that energy is organized. In fact, the human body is an organizing dynamic for the energy of the universe. And so it is truly as if the universe is this giant funnel that is pouring in, and you are a compressed version of that in this physical body. So this meditation is allowing you to have that experience and to draw upon universal intelligence, which is your true mind. Your true intelligence is coming from the cosmic energy, the cosmic intelligence, and moving through your body and being translated and oriented in such a fashion that it becomes thoughts and images and ideas, etc. But if we're not living in our body, we only get a certain number, a certain amount of that filtering system working for us. So we can only draw from certain aspects of this universal intelligence. So this meditation allows you to come down into the body and draw upon many, many more additional radio stations, if you will, so that we're gathering a more comprehensive message from the cosmos that we're able to draw from and glean from and operate from. So here's how energy moves, Dan. It comes, and I know that we've spoken about this a little bit in the past, but I just want to expound upon it more for our viewers. And that is that that the energy comes down through the crown and runs all the way down through the physical body and drops into the earth and hits the earth and is reflected back and rises up again. And as it rises up through the body, it is important that we have the circuitry in place all along the way, that we can allow that rising version of the energy to be as pure and uninterrupted as the pure high frequency spirit energy is that's dropping down in the first place. So our evolution is all about, how do I build the circuits so that I can express in the same purity that I came here to be, versus being thwarted and distorted in all my beliefs and in my inappropriate conclusions that I've drawn about myself, as if I'm inadequate or insufficient in some way, and it creates distortions and doesn't allow me to receive all the way up to my consciousness the pure perspective and perception of the whole picture, the way it truly is, to perceive myself as a divine individual here, to perceive myself as the spirit being, instead of just thinking I'm just this five sensory human being trying to survive in this world. There's so much more to us than that. And so the energy codes is teaching people how to do that exact thing, to build the circuits so that this rising energy doesn't develop a wobble and create a distortion in our energy field, which keeps us perceiving in a distorted fashion. So our distortions are here to be perfected, and the energy codes are teaching people how to perfect their own distortions, which is why they came. They came to do that. So it isn't a problem. It's a game. It's a project. It's not a problem. It's a project that we're here to refine ourselves so that we can perceive this true exalted version of who we are while we're here on earth. That's what I knew in the moment that I had that exalted experience 20 years ago. And I devoted my life to figuring out how to get there again, how to reproduce it, how to have that all the time, how to have my life be a reflection of that. Is what I devoted my life to do, and turn my life into a living laboratory. And that's what I've codified and put in this book. And I've been teaching patients and clients all of these practices for about 15 years now. Because in the first 5 years, I wasn't teaching anybody anything until I knew that it was reproducible. And I was working with my patients on it. But then it started to become obvious that if people do this and this and this and this, that they start to open up, they start to wake up, they start to have a different life experience. So initially, this meditation is a great way for people to have an initial experience, but there is so much more available. So I teach workshops all around the country, and I take people to, I teach them outside of the country as well. And I take people also to sacred sites around the world where we're working with the energies of temples and sacred places like Machu Picchu and the Great Pyramids up the Nile in Egypt, to India and to Bali and to ancient Greece, and unpacking Greek mythology and how the messages of ancient India and of ancient Greece are actually the same. And what I'm doing is allowing people to realize that actually in those sacred sites, in those times that these sites were built, and the practices that were happening there are exactly what I'm sharing with people in the energy codes. I figured it out on my own, and then I realized that's what these ancient civilizations were trying to share with us. So I go to Egypt and I can read the hieroglyphs. I understand what they're saying, and it's not what our tour guides are interpreting. It's a deeper message. And that message has also been made very user-friendly in the Energy Codes book for exactly this reason. We're all here for one purpose, and that purpose is to wake up to the truth of who we are. Instead of thinking that we are alone as an isolated, singular person on the surface of this planet, trying to learn how to connect with other people and to create a life that we can survive and just get by and do okay and succeed in, we're here to flourish abundantly and to bring a joyous experience along the way. You don't have to suffer in order to succeed. You don't have to compromise your soul and yourself in order to be in relationship and in order for it to work with grace and ease. You don't have to have that kind of challenge in order to have the life that you're looking for. That's the illusion that we're here to disperse, that we're here to dissolve. And so the meditation and the practices that I share in the book and the things that I teach in my coursework, in the energy codes of manifesting and the level 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 of my coursework, are all about making it possible for people to do exactly what we're speaking about.
Awesome. Wow. So anyway, so everybody absolutely check all this out. Check out Dr. Sue's book. And also this, in the show notes, I'll put the Embodiment Meditation 101 Central Channel Focus with the link to get that free gift. And her meditations are amazing. I've experienced them a few times myself. And so Dr. Sue, for people that are, you know, one of the things I like to introduce sometimes into the show, and then we'll wrap up, is just, so this all sounds amazing to me. I mean, I love that too. Like, you downloaded all this basically, and through, you know, sorting through it too. But like, this all came to you and you're like, wow, that's what they were trying to teach. I get it. And that's the enlightened way, you know, like the energy scanning, for example. Like, I'm sure other people taught it in other ways, but like, it came to me as a download. Okay, this is how you do it. And different things I've experimented with over the years. I look it up online. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess other people have done this too already. But you know, it came to me through infinite intelligence. And I think that's one of the things that maybe the audience would like to hear too, is that there is, like, take advantage of the shortcuts that are available to you. Like, through getting aligned, you can get huge upgrades and downloads for your work in the world, because the people listening in, a lot of them have a big thing they want to do in the world, and you want to get the downloads of how it wants to unfold in the most powerful, amazing way. These are the things to utilize. Or you think about Gandhi, or, you know, all these different people that did amazing things. They did it because they're utilizing these practices of doing these things, meditation, whatever, all the different things. There's so many things, but they use these things to get into this alignment, this aligned place, and to allow their greatest essence to shine and to lead and to do what they've come here to do. So this is a way to go. Let it be easier. Use these practices. If you were practicing during the show, you'd see right away, wow, it's dropping me into this place. And then your brain will say, but is this really working? Yep, it is. Just go with it. Okay. So anyway, so Dr. Sue, any last thoughts you want to share with everybody around all this stuff? I mean, I think the thing with the brain is, like, it wonders if we're going to get there, or do we still need to improve? It's so addicted to that. So do you have any last thoughts about that part that always feels like, well, are we really there? And when do we get there? And all that sort of stuff. If any last words.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. I really appreciate who you are and the difference that you're making in the world, and holding this space for this through your program. It's so important that everyone recognize that while some people have put some pieces together, and such as myself, that I'm here sharing these pieces, you're sharing pieces together for people. What it is so important, I feel, for the listener to get, is that everyone is made of this. Everyone has this capacity. That there used to be an idea that only the guru, only the master could ever access these levels of consciousness. And we are evolving as a species to the degree that we are ready to take these steps in greater mass to unfold. The information that I am sharing is information that used to only be held inside the ashram, where sacred devotion of one's entire life was made to be able to even perceive these ideas. I spent much time in ashrams in India and in the United States with two in particular deep teachers that were helping me steward this great awakening that was occurring with me. And I can say that I put the pieces together in an outside of the ashram kind of languaging, because I know it's my purpose on the planet to bring this forward in a user-friendly fashion for everyone, because I know that during my time on the planet, we are ready to awaken in mass. And so, meaning the people who are in personal development, spiritual development, interest in their lives, it's time for them to have what they're seeking, not just be a better seeker, but learn to be a haver, learn to be a receiver. And to do that, we have to learn to be a perceiver. It's just a matter of circuitry and perception. And that's what I'm building in the Energy Codes book and in the Energy Codes coursework. I'm building the circuits for you to perceive a greater version that already exists within you. It is the real you. And the fact that you're even tuning in to this conversation with Dan and I is evidence that it is your time to have this, to have it, not keep seeking and spinning your wheels, but to sit back, sit down inside your body and practice the feeling of having and receiving and perceiving. And I teach you how to do that in the book, because it's the essential #1 step for this to ever unfold in your life. If we always stay dialed into the radio frequency of trying and seeking and searching, we'll only ever get really good at that. We have to get good at receiving and perceiving and having and embodying and owning. Owning who we are. We have to get good at that if that's ever going to be cultivated in our lives. And so my final message would be to recognize that there's a different sensation when you allow yourself to have something. There's a different experience inside of you than the sensation of seeking. And one is not better than the other. You can't have the thing that matters most if you're not interested in seeking a deeper meaning behind the scenes of what life is really all about. But you also can't have it if you always only ever seek. So what I'm teaching you to do is to desire a greater picture for your life, and then learn how to let go of desire and have it. And in the right order, these things will blossom and unfold in your life in the most magnificent of ways. And you are meant to have it all, truly. You will have everything that serves your highest good in this life. It's a given. It's going to happen. And if you could just relax into that, it would happen sooner. If you're convinced that it's never going to happen, if you don't get up earlier and try harder and all that, I assure you there are ways that your efforts will pay off and ways that your efforts will be wasted. And I love pointing out that distinction inside the work that I'm teaching, because we want efficiency and effectiveness, and we want results. You know, I'm a 30, well, maybe 40 years clinician. I'm a doctor that's been in a practice, and the only thing that mattered in my world was outcomes in my patients, right? If they don't get results, it didn't matter what we were doing. It didn't matter what I knew. What matters is could I get results? So this whole process is results, you know, focused. But it's about being in the experience along the way in a joyous fashion, where you know that you know that you know that you are made of wholeness and that you are made of goodness, and that this is meant to be for you. It isn't that you're asking too much. It isn't that you're perceiving or pursuing something that is out of your reach. If it's occurring to you to have what it is that Dan and I have been speaking about today, then it is your time to have it. Don't question that about yourself anymore. Just get educated on how you can. And if I never get to see you or I don't connect with you again directly, the very practices that we're starting today are a start to get you in the neighborhood of what I'm speaking about. So nothing broken, nothing missing, nothing wrong. You are whole and complete exactly as you are. And if you could learn to train your mind to serve the real you, you will not be caught up in and identified as your analytical mind anymore, and your life will start to unfold in an entirely different experience. So it's my hope and desire to share that with you in this lifetime. So blessings to you all.
Okay. All right. Absolutely. Hallelujah. Amen. All right. Okay.
Amen.
So yeah, absolutely. And we're just so glad to have you, and check out the Energy Codes book by Dr. Sue Morter and the meditation through the show notes. And also, if you want to check out more about myself and the tools I give around this sort of stuff, you can go to yoursacredpurpose.com. I have a meditate and make money meditation and 4 ways to meditate and make money. Let it come from the embodied place, right? Rather than trying to get in your head, trying to figure stuff out. So go check that out, yoursacredpurpose.com. And there are so many things you said, Dr. Sue, that I'm like, that's a whole nother segment we could do. So who knows?
Okay, we'll come back and do that. I'm happy to.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm so grateful to have you all the time, anytime. And so thank you. And I appreciate you so much. And many blessings for your work. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dan. My pleasure. My great pleasure. I'm happy to anytime. Namaste. Blessings to you.
All right. Many blessings, everybody. Goodbye for now. Wow, what a pleasure to have you join us today. Thank you so much for listening to Spirits for Rockstar podcast. Stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Wednesday and Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.